In today's video, I want to show you how you can get better randomized sequences in Vital. We will look how we can get a bit more random sequences with Vital. So I brought one of my presets from my new pack, FM Punter. It's an FM sound. So at the moment we're sounding like this. So you see it's one constant long sound, and we want to create a random sequence. Of course you can put like a sequence in from the LFOs you got, but maybe you want to have something more individual or something new, something more creative, and you want to let the machines do the work. And how we will do this. So the first step is we will set the grid here like it's initially like to 8, 1. So we have 8 steps and the height is just 1. So we can be more flexible. And we switch here to step. And then we draw a few steps in. And the important thing is, from my experience is, don't go like this too low. It's usually better if you go like full, maybe like this, and then completely down. So that's kind of the steps we want to take in, because we will modulate with this in a second the levels here. And we don't want to be like, we have that saying like, it's not meat, not fish. Maybe we want to have a bit of dynamic difference in the sounding, but either we want to be on or we want to be off, and not kind of like in between somewhere here. Or not at the moment, maybe we decide different later. And then we will draw a few steps here and we will distribute them. We put this here to sync and 1/2. And as we have 8 steps and it's repeating every half bar, we basically have 16 steps right now. So if we would play this, let's map this to our levels. A little bit like it has been before. This one was a bit more. So at the moment we are not really having any random in here. And now we will take the random from Vital and we will map the random from Vital here to the phase of our LFO. So this is basically the starting point of our LFO. So now the random will trigger at random points here every quarter note, but maybe we make it like every 8 note. Every 8 note it will change the position and then run from that position 1 8 note. So let's say it's triggering here, and one of those steps is at the moment a 16 because of this here. Then we would be running 1 8 note, so it's like 2 16th note. So this is then the first and the second. So that's the way the LFO would take then. So we're coming closer to our goal, but at the moment we are here in this Perlin. So this is a little bit more moving, more constant, and we want to have it a bit more edgy. So we put the sample and hold here on. As you can hear, it gets more that kind of like chopped up feeling. And from here, you can go here in the mod remap section and you see like, let's say the sample and hold is up here. Then it's triggering this here, which is kind of like very high here in the y-axis. So we would be triggering here the end point. Let's say we are here in the middle of the sample and hold and we are in the middle here. So we are at that point and this point is also in the middle. So we would be triggering here in the middle. So at the moment the sample and hold is basically just like triggering, the high point is triggering the end, the low point is triggering the beginning, and the middle. And I don't want to have it that linear, because when it's that linear, then we are starting somewhere here, and then it's chopping up the note, and then we're going on a part which is not in our grid, again on full volume. So what I will do is put this to 8, because we have 8 steps here, and then I will put this to 8 steps here. And now we just draw like stairs in there. This time, if our LFO here is in the middle, we're still like here in the middle. But if it's a little bit right to it, then we're getting this point and this point. And remember, before we had that straight line, so we were always starting a little bit later. But now we're starting at the same position until the stair kind of comes in. And that way will always be triggering here at this beginning points. So listen to it. But with 1/8 notes, I think it's not interesting enough. So let's try if we go a little bit faster here. So let's put our grid now to 16. And we will make some small variations. So we will, for example, bring this one down. Let's leave that one up. Yeah, well, maybe we'll have one of those, which is kind of like... Maybe we'll have one of those, which is going down here a bit, and let's go here. By holding a command, you can turn this off and on, but I will turn it off now. And then maybe we bend this a bit here, and here we bend it the other way. So now let's try this. My mouse wheel is going crazy here. And we will put the smooth option off. And now you see we still have here the 8/8. I already created something like this. But notice when we go 16 steps, it's better if we double the tempo, or half the tempo actually, so that we are running here in one bar, then each step, 16 steps, one bar divided to 16, we have 16th notes. And now you need to take a little bit of a listen. Is the sequence full enough? Does it have too much spaces? Does it have too less spaces? For my taste, I think it's a bit too full. And now if we go back to 1/8, we have a cool effect. So because this is changing every 8 note position, so let's say we are triggering here, it runs through this whole sequence and then it's triggering again. If it's triggering here, we have 1/16th note, and let's say if we have that break here, then we have a break. So we have 8 notes and 16th notes. So that's a cool effect. So I think that's something we can already use. And as we're having random stuff, I would never leave it like that in a track, because you cannot control it. And you will have automatically good bits, good kind of like parts, and you will have bad parts. And for that reason, we want to record this, and then we can choose the best parts and use them for our track. So let's record a bit. Yeah, and as you already can see in the wave, we're not very loud here, so we need to push this a bit then. But now we can basically go through our wave here. Let's increase that for now, that we have a bit of better looking. You see everything is neatly on the grid. So if we have here our 16th grid, we have starting it here. So as you can see, we have 16th notes, we have 8 notes, and what we really want is that everything is kind of like starting nice here with the points. This one maybe even has a little bit too late, so we would need to quantize that, but actually everything looks quite decent. What we don't want, if you put that grid and you notice that you have things on, if you put the grid to 132, then it's okay if you're here, you have some kind of like shared points between 116th and 132 grid, but you don't want to be starting like here maybe, because that's kind of like giving you a bit of a unusual feeling. So let's listen a bit to this one. So for example, this loop was quite cool. It's a bit long, so let's check what we really take from it. So that could be some sequence we could take, or let's try this one. So we easily created kind of like a semi-random sequence generator. I say semi-random because the cool thing with that random sequence is through the structure we paint in, we're giving kind of like parts we want to repeat. And by the random down here, we can control how much of those parts we take. Let's say I would take this to a quarter note, for example, then we would have even bits. So so this is like 116 and a quarter note is 416. So we could have, for example, this block, or we could have this block. And that's actually a cool thing. So we have basically a defined grid, and by increasing the size here, we're taking more of that grid, and by decreasing the size, we're taking less of that grid and getting a little bit more completely random style. And also we can control a bit the shapes and all that. So I think that approach is way cooler than just dropping like random anywhere. And it's also better than just dropping like a sequence here, because you will get ideas which you might not, or rhythms which you might not have programmed in there. Now we will come to a second kind of like more sample and holdish sequence. So I brought another preset from my new bank. It's SQ Caveman. And because there's some automation here on the envelope, which I don't want to change at the moment, and it doesn't work if you draw one long note in here, I put 16th notes here into the MIDI. So here you can see this is 1/16th note. So if we play this, it sounds like this. So as you can hear, it already has some randomness in it, but we can use the same technique we just used. And this time I will take a sequence from the pack. Let's take, for example, this sequence here. And we will use this sequence to trigger the pitch here. And then we will use the same trick again. So we will take the random here. We put the random here on the face. We will put it to sample and hold. Let's take this time maybe the quarter note, which I talked before about. And we will go back here into the mod remap, and we will choose... You can choose also grids which are not here. Let me explain this quickly. So let's say you have here 8 steps, but actually you only have a quarter note here. So you're changing every quarter note. This doesn't really matter because you still have the full range here. So you can still hit every one of those steps. Also doesn't matter if you have more steps here. you just will jump over some steps. So if you only have 8 steps, then it's jumping here, here, so as the grid is here basically. And if you have 16 steps, it also jumps in between. Okay, let's try this. Maybe we can combine this even with the level here. So as you can see, it's actually really nice. Well, I want to save that one. It's actually really nice. You can get really easily cool stuff out of this. So for example, let's bring this here. Now as we're staying a bit longer, maybe we need to transpose snap it. Let's try this. Actually, I find it cool. I think you can get cool bits out of that, so I don't wanna destroy it. But there's also a cool thing I learned from Dash in one of his sessions. You can map those LFOs to the macros. By the way, he has a cool Vital 50 Tips video where you can also find a lot of those tricks here. So let's maybe try to put that LFO to our timbre. So this is modulating the shapes. So you see we have many options from that, and the same applies as this sound. I would bounce this or record it and then choose like good loops in there. So either you directly loop something or you make the effort and cut all the cool bits out. So let's say in that sequence, and now it's already looped, but let's say we have this, which is good, and this one, then you can easily, by pressing 0, you can deactivate this and you press 0 again and you have it cut. And then you can move and rearrange the stuff. Also the same, like I showed in many videos, you can change starting positions, you could reverse stuff. So many options which you then have in the audio again from your kind of like sampled machine sounds. You can leave it blank like that and have like something completely random in your part, but I usually find it makes music a little bit more sense if you find cool bits. And what you can also do is you can take, for example, 2 bars and then you can scan through that. And then in the end you may slap like a little automation on this. So for example, you could just go with the EQ here. I hope you enjoyed what I did in this video, and I will leave you a link to the pack in the description. I tried to make like a pack with like all my kind of like really best sounds I have for a very like cheap price. So if you want to support my channel then and kind of like repeat the steps in here, you can get the pack, or you can try it with any sound you want from another pack and just use this technique to get that kind of like random controlled sequences. Let me know in the comments what you want to know next, if you have some topics which you're really interested in, and see you next time.